What's up, y'all? This is Julian Baudouin, the Executive Director of the Hub South Dakota. We are here again bringing you another episode of Roots and Revenue. This is episode 7, and I am really excited about our guest today. This young man has been an extraordinary leader in our community for a long time. He looks like he's 21, but he's not. I'll let him, talk a little bit about himself. But before we get into the introduction, if this is your first time watching Roots and Revenue, our goal is to make sure we're talking about the root of the person before the revenue that they've been able to generate in our community. Revenue can look a little bit different when you talk about the BIPOC community as well. So, what's the payback? How'd you get there? What's the story of that person's life? We want to make sure that we're benefiting the person before we're benefiting the profit. So, without further ado, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. I'm happy to be here. Was looking forward to it, for the past, few weeks. Basically, since you told me, just been looking forward to it. It's always amazing to be able to, sit down with people who you may come across, in the community, here and there. Obviously, we see each other pretty frequently with, you be at downtown, and I frequent downtown a lot, but to be able to sit down and have an actual conversation, I think that's always cool. I appreciate that all the time, because you get to, just like you said, see the root of the person before you see the profit. I think that in any sort of relationship, man, knowing the roots of the person or whoever you're speaking with and whatever you're trying to, accomplish, attacking that root, why you're doing it or what it is, behind the passion. So I'm excited to be here and just, speak on whatever it is you got for me.
Yeah, for sure, man. One of the pillars of our organization at the Hub is actually relationship building or relationship development. And it's almost impossible to have a relationship, a genuine relationship with someone without understanding their story.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Dibba,
Yeah.
tell us who you are.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not what you do.
Yeah.
Tell us who you are.
Yep. So my name is Saul Dibba. I was raised in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but I was born in the Gambia, West African country, right inside of Senegal, near Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, that northwest kind of hump. Born there, came to the States when I was 3, through the LSS resettlement program. The reason why my family came here was my father, who was a teacher and a headmaster at the time, for 20 years. I was born in 95, and in 96 there was a hostile military takeover, a military coup d'etat. And my dad, alongside other influential people, got rounded up and taken to prison, and he was in prison for 18 months. And through that process, my mother was, raising myself and all of my siblings. Dad got out of jail, applied for political asylum, and then we spent 2 years in the neighboring country of Senegal, kind of waiting for the whole process to go through. And then 98 of September, my family came here in Sioux Falls, and I was raised in Sioux Falls ever since then. Went through K through 12, K through university actually in Sioux Falls, Terry Redden Elementary, Whittier Middle School, Washington High School, and Augustana University. But yeah, youngest of 13. I got a big family. Yeah, I got a real big family. So I'm the youngest at 29 years old, and then my oldest sibling is in her early 50s. Lives in London, England. We're kind of all spread around, but yeah, man, grew up in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls has played a huge role in my development as a man, as a person, as a community member, and just, growing up here and being able to witness and experience a lot of the things that I have, I think led me to where I am today, and just who I am and what I'm able to do and how I'm able to move. Uh, I just met a lot of great people along the way that, guided me and protected me and gave me wisdom. And, I'm a culmination of, all the people that I met along my path, good and bad, for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. You talked about coming here at such a young age. I would imagine in the '90s there weren't many kids that looked like you around Sioux Falls. Um, I mean,
It was very concentrated.
yeah, it's because you had a community.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was because through LSS, at the time, there was a heavy influx of immigrants. You know, because at that time, Bosnia and Herzegovina was going through a really bad, civil war, and where there was a lot of, people slaughtered and misplaced, and a lot of them came here. A lot of Bosnians came here. Through that, I know at the time Sudanese community was huge, and they were coming through here too as well. Eritrean, Ethiopian, I think Vietnamese. So yeah, there was a lot of kids that looked like me or similar to me and had similar kind of cultures. But like I said, it was very concentrated. Where for me, I saw it mainly in school. uh, I think that makes me very grateful that I was able to experience so many different cultures, and uh, languages, cultures, and traditions, and foods, and just interacting with people from all around the world in such a small space. So I think that helped me just with my worldview and just how I interact with people, because I grew up around, you know, Bosnians, Russians, Vietnamese, Laos, Sudanese, Ethiopian, Eritrean, all kinds of African, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think that set me up well.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, it's one thing to be, a person of color, but it's another thing to be able to mix and mingle with different communities and like know the roots, understand where they come from, understand why they eat this certain food, what's that certain cultural garb that they're wearing, why did they celebrate this certain holiday, whatever it is, and I was able to do that through school, through sports, going to their houses, going through different community events, like, the festivals of cultures was huge when I was growing up.
For sure.
So stuff like that. So yeah, there was a lot of people that looked like me, but yeah, it was very concentrated.
So at one point, I know, and I'm not sure what the numbers are now, but at one point there was 170 or 172 different languages and dialects spoken in Sioux Falls alone. And people don't realize how diverse this city really is. Yes, we live in our own communities, and sometimes those communities can be concentrated, as you said. But we see that now, like our middle school and high school. Yeah, these kids look like us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the future is really diverse with Sioux Falls, right in Sioux Falls. One of the things I always look back at is when I first moved here, it was really difficult to find a black person, just overall. And the thing that people used to ask us all the time is like, man, where you moving to?
Yeah.
When you say South Dakota, the first question they always ask you, yeah, but this was 2006.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about my time here versus what it could have looked like in the mid to early 90s, whatever that was, and how drastic of a growth we've seen,
it's
even since then.
It's changed like crazy.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about because one of the things that I've also noticed is that young folks, when they do move here, particularly those who may be the first generation or early generation resettlement individuals, they come here, they move away
Yeah.
because there's not a lot of perceived diversity. There's not a lot of opportunity for people like you and I here.
Right.
What kept you here?
Man,
Or what keeps you here?
for me, at the time, I didn't really see it as a blessing, but now in hindsight, 2020, obviously, as a young adult, the reason that I stayed here initially was because my mother, she's illiterate. She can't read, she can't write, and I think a lot of young immigrant kids can relate to this, where it's like, you try.
Yeah, let's clarify that. Yeah. Can she read and write in her own language?
No, so there's not a written language. There's not a written portion of our language.
Okay, sorry. And that's important to understand.
Yeah. There's not a written.
So especially when you come here to learn a new language.
Yeah.
And you don't have, something to show your own anyways, that's difficult.
Yeah, so she was illiterate. She is literate. Couldn't read, couldn't write. So You're translating for them, when you're taking them to appointments, doctor appointments, checkups, things like that. Taking them to the bank, to check on their accounts, to withdraw, to deposit, to ask certain questions. You're taking them grocery shopping. I was taking her to work too, because she can't drive either. So, basically from my sophomore year till I graduated, actually till about 27. So for about 4 years, longer than that, but really 4 years, taking her to work, picking her up from work, going to school. I was going to school. I was in college, you know what I mean? And after classes is done, I'd go home, change into my work gear, and then take my mom to work, go to work for 4 or 5 hours, go to the library for about until close, get a couple hours of sleep. She calls me 3, 4 in the morning. I'm up, go grab her, bring her back. I'm up at 7, 8 in the morning, going right back to college. So I didn't really have a choice to leave.
Yeah.
Just because all of my siblings at the time were already, older, had their families, moved out the house or out of the state.
Right.
So it was just me and my mom. So we were very close. But that's what initially kept me here, because I wanted to go to the University of Utah. That was my dream school. Had 2 older brothers there, visited there plenty of times. Very beautiful place. So I literally applied, got accepted, all of that stuff. But then I realized, like, we want to take care of my mom, So I had to stay close. And initially, after the whole University of Utah thing, I was like, well, maybe I can go to SDC or USD. I'm still an hour away.
Yeah.
And that hour may not seem like a lot to people, but in the circumstances that I was in,
Right.
hours a lot, So
I mean, you already barely had it.
exactly. So it's like, by the grace of God, one of my best friends, Christian, he was getting recruited to Augustana for football. And his admissions counselor on his first initial visit was like, yeah, if you want to come back, you could bring a friend. And, and this is when I was already confirmed that I want to go to Utah. I was already accepted everything.
That's a good exception.
Yeah. So I was just like, I'll just go as support, Like, I've never, even though I lived here, I've driven past the campus plenty of times. I never actually stepped foot on the campus and explored it. And it was a beautiful summer day, man. And I just remember, the admissions counselor that was giving the tour. I just remember seeing everybody like, yo, what's up, Dylan? How you doing, Dylan? I'm like, damn, I know everybody. But that intrigued me, because I'm like, for you to know everybody on a college campus, there's something special about that campus. You know what I'm saying? And I've always been someone who, I love people, I love to get to know people, and learn their stories, and, try to connect on a deeper level than just surface. So I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then, getting the tour, trees are blooming. It was just beautiful. The admissions counselor was super nice. Casey, I think her name was Casey Nichols. Very, very nice lady. But man, she just sold me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is just God talking, and I got to. And literally, man, I think I did that in July. Classes started the next month.
It was quick.
It was just a quick turnaround, But what kept me here, I think, is just my roots are here. My roots are here, and like I said at the beginning, there's just a lot of people throughout my journey who looked out for me. You know what I'm saying? Who looked out for me, that guided me, that provided me wisdom, that provided me opportunities, invited me to certain things that I wouldn't have known about had it just been my knowledge. I wouldn't have been in those rooms. But, the fact that they saw something within me to want to invite me to these places, to, want to give me that guidance, because they see potential in me, in whatever way that they did. And just like, yeah, those opportunities, man, like once I started getting in certain rooms and meeting certain people, community leaders, people doing similar things that I wanted to do. And it's like, man, I kind of saw it as like a hidden gem. At this community, I seen it as a hidden gem. How they say it's flyover country, like, oh, black people live there. Like, just those little things where it's like people don't truly understand. how special this place is and can be in the future. And that's due to just, over the years, just different initiatives, more diversity, more people in front, more representation. Obviously, there's more room for improvement, but to even just see certain people in certain positions doing what they're doing at the capacity that they're able to do it and the success that they're having at it, it's like, dang, these are people who, have been here for some time, and they're a little older than me, and I'm kind of like that next rung down, and then there's another rung below me in the younger generation that's also, I feel like, are gonna do great things. It's like Gen Z.
That generation.
Gen Z is crazy,
Too much out.
Gen Z is ready. They're not scared of nothing.
Oh no.
They're not scared of nothing, and I think that's so.
And they have more access to education
Right.
than ever before.
Right. With our phones, laptops, and all this stuff, they have a lot of access, which, depending on how you use it, can go either way.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's what kept me here, man. Just seeing that potential the city has, and just being kind of in that, initial potential, that initial kind of exponential, that curve before it starts going up, like starting at the ground level. Because you've known me for, I don't know, a long, long time, probably like 8, 9 years.
I think longer than that, man.
Yeah, you're right. But just even like the relationship we had, and this is what I mean when I say this is part of the reason why I stayed here, because people like you and other community leaders who I met along the way that I can rap with. I can throw ideas at you. I can talk about certain things with you, and just know that I have that accessibility. I think that's a huge thing too, because like if you go to a bigger city, I'm not saying you can't have those connections, but it's a lot harder to reach those people.
Absolutely.
Or it's like here, it's like, oh, I know this person that knows that person, so I'm gonna be like, yo, how can I? And then before you know it, I got, maybe an email, or I got, hey, go to this event, or
Absolutely.
here's my number. Let's maybe all three go get a coffee. You know how
It can happen so quick.
and it can happen the next day, the next week, and it's like that's how quick things can happen in this city. Like I think that a lot of people don't really realize. Like, man, it takes one conversation, it takes going to one event. It's just, you just never know. And I think another part of it is just making yourself seen. Going to things that you want to go to, and just presenting yourself in a way that, hey, I want to be here.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this thing. How can I be a part of it?
For sure.
And I was fortunate enough, and I'm grateful that there were certain people, including you, who, I'm saying, it's like, all right, you're putting in work. How can I help you do even more? And I think that's what's helped me like stay here. Just that community of people that I've been able to create, the network of people that I have, the support system that I have, and just being able to do what I've done in the past decade, just in different areas. So it's like I would really have to have a great opportunity to leave this place. This is always going to be home base to me. Not saying I won't ever move, but like this is home.
I mean, yeah, because you always have to have your eyes and ears open,
Exactly.
especially for personal growth. You have to be able to do that. Yeah. But yeah, man, I get 100% what you're saying. When I first moved here, I would hear everybody talk about like the value of hard work, right? And you know that growing up. See it being from the South. You also hear it a little bit. But here, when I moved here, everybody was talking about like hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work.
Yeah.
Grind, grind, grind. So, one of the things that I did was I started a cleaning company at like, I don't know, 19 years old. Didn't have a car or anything. So I would say people need to see the value of my hard work. So how do I continue cleaning, or how do I continue to try to gain contracts if I don't have a vehicle? I don't have this transportation.
Right.
I bought a bike and I started riding my bicycle all across the city with cleaning supplies in my backpack. Like doing the thing, grinding, and really working hard. But that alone didn't pay off. And I want people to really understand that hard work on loan mortgage does not pay off. Because off camera, you and I had a conversation about like how hard sometimes we work, and then because of organizational structures, you have to either fall in line or get out
Right.
type things. And so let's talk about maybe just a little bit those rooms that you were able to have access to early on in your professional career and how those rooms look different than the community you were in. Because I know sometimes that could be a lonely feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, how'd that feel to you?
I think for me, I don't know. I see myself as a chameleon in the way where it's like, you know how some people have like imposter syndrome? I never had that. Cause I'm like it's a hard work day. And I knew I busted my ass and I knew the value I could bring into any room. I knew that whoever chose to take a chance on me or even meet with me, whatever it is, they would be getting way more than they thought, you know. And it's just not the hard work, it's the character, it's how communicate with people, you know, it's how, you know, the ingenuity, innovation, and how I could see different things. But like for me, it's like I never, yeah, it was a lot of the time, majority of the time, yeah, I was one of the very few, or if the only one,
Yeah.
you know, that was black, you know. But for me, I think the way I grew up prepared me for a lot of that. Where it's like it takes a lot to really shake me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't care who you are, you know. I look at your character,
Did that come from having a lot of siblings? Did they come from your mother? Where did that come from?
and it came from everything. I think for me, it's like seeing, you know, my mom worked at Smithfield, John Morrell for 17, 18 years. You know, that's her only job here in America, 17, 18 years. And, you know, watching her work 5, sometimes 6 days a week, you know, coming home exhausted, still going out grocery shopping and cooking on a Sunday, you know what I'm saying, making sure the family's fed, you know, watch all of my brothers, you know, hustle in their own way, grind in their own way, try to find themselves, you know, as young men, and just seeing that, you know, because being the youngest, you're able to kind of observe and be like, I I don't want to go down that path. Maybe I should, you know, pivot. You know, they've already been through that fire. I don't want to get burned. You know what I mean? So, you know, so I think a lot of it comes from, yeah, just like it's more than me. It's bigger than me. You know, I'm the first college graduate of my family. You know, out of that many siblings. You know, outside of my father. You know, but I'm the first child out of 13
Wow.
to graduate from an institution.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than me. You know, when I graduated in 2017, you know, well, Christian, my best friend, his mom was there, my mom was there, all my brothers were there, and they were just all rejoicing and laughing and crying. And I remember giving, I still have this picture where I have my diploma and my 3 brothers are around me, and we all got our hands on my diploma.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like this was for us.
Folly.
This was for us, you know. And so when I'm in those rooms, it's for us. You know, I don't take those opportunities lightly. I don't look at them as, oh, I'm just here to be here. Like, no, I'm here to shake the room. I'm here to kick down the door because I know that, like I said, I know what I bring to the table. I know what I can bring. I know what I can do. But also, I do it for the next guy who might come after me. You know, I want to set a standard. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that, like, hey, if this next guy comes in the door, he'll have it a little bit easier than I did.
Yeah.
But I never really felt like, oh, I'm out of place, or, you know, this person of such a high status is here. I don't care about none of that. I'll be honest with you. I don't care. I care about the person's character. Who are you? You know, like you asked me beginning, who am I?
Yeah. For
You
sure.
know, who are you? You know, just because you have a position, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Man, listen, that's really speaking to me right now.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I actually struggle with. So I really admire it, and I think people who are listening or looking at this right now could and should also admire that quality in a young leader, a tremendous young leader. I've been privileged to be in rooms with those who are of high status, and we're talking like presidents of the United States. Shit. you. You know, when I look around the room and I have conversations with people, sometimes I have that question like, man, I don't think I deserve to be here. You know what I mean? It's one of those things I certainly struggle with, and I'm working to find my way in those rooms. So I appreciate that conversation.
And to be honest, that's the devil. You know, that's the devil, man. Cause the way I see it, I don't know people watching this what your spiritual, practice is, what religion you follow, if you even believe in anything. But me personally, I think that every negative thought, every, that imposter syndrome that, oh, I'm not supposed to be here, or whatever, that's just the enemy trying to feed your mind because they don't want you to truly see all of the work you've done to get to that point. So how can you be an imposter if you've worked for all those years to get to that point? How am I an imposter?
Right.
I deserve to be here. You know what I mean? I know the work I put in to get here. I know the struggle, the stress, the hard times, the good times, everything that culminated for me to get here. So why am I gonna be scared to be in that room?
Yeah.
When I put in the work, I've carried the burdens on my back. You know what I mean? I've carried the cross. Why would I be scared to be in the room that I know I'd work to get in?
Ain't that the truth?
So like that's just me. You know what I mean? Like that's why I don't fear no man. And whatever room I'm in, I've been in rooms with all kinds of people, good, bad, ugly. I'm always chill. I'm always even keel. It's like I know who I am.
Man.
You know what I mean? I know who I am. So it's like, why would I be afraid to speak to another man? We come from the same source.
Yeah.
We come from God. You know?
Yeah.
So I try to see the God in people. I try to see the good in people, but also know that, there's a lot of wolves out here too. So you got to know how to move. You can't just be, a deer in the headlights. You can't, oh, I'm so happy to be here. That's great. You should. But also you should also know who's in the room.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think for me, that's, I don't know. They say, what's the point of worrying if you're going to pray? Why pray if you're going to worry? And I'm not perfect, I'm not perfect by any means. I got my faults and everything, but, I talk to God every day. And I also believe that whatever is for me is for me. Whatever is not for me will not remain in my life. So if I'm doing something and it's a consistent thing and I'm fulfilled and I'm happy in it, I know that's from God.
Yeah.
But if I'm in something and it doesn't last, it wasn't meant to. So like, I don't know. I think it comes down to perspective at the end of the day. Because it's like, yeah, man, you shouldn't be having imposter syndrome. Because since I've known you, you've been hustling, you've been grinding, you've been, fighting for the community. You know what I mean? You've been vocal. You've been in those rooms. You invited people to those rooms. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, you deserve to be wherever you're at in whatever room you're in. There might be people who have more experience or whatever it is. That's normal. That's gonna happen. I mean, that's life. There's always gonna be someone who knows more than Ralph Waldo Emerson said. Summarized loosely, that basically like every man I come across is my superior in some way, and I can learn from him, no matter how little or small. Someone in this world, every person I come across is superior to me in some way. So how can I look down on that person?
Yeah.
They know something I don't.
Yeah, there's so much wisdom.
So it's like, yeah, man. So I don't know. I'm very grateful for life.
Yeah.
I'm just to be able to have done what I've done and be where I've been, seen what I've seen, and like every day to me is a miracle. Because I wasn't even supposed to make it out the hospital when I was born. So like every day for me, I thank God. Because I'm not technically supposed to be here.
For sure.
And I have 29 years on this earth, so I'm grateful for everyone.
Yes, sir.
Every day. So it's like, whatever I could do to, further establish my name and my legacy, in a positive way, I'm gonna do. And whoever I can help along the way, I will. because that's something I was always taught growing up. Like, if you can help somebody without straining yourself, do it.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's a bro. Again, like so much wisdom, and I personally just really appreciate and value what you bring to the table, bro. If not every single time I talk to you, every time I talk to you, like why bring your fire, bro. Uh, so you mentioned the word legacy, and that's kind of been a word that's been tossed around in our community, actually, for a little bit. Our mayor actually recently was talking about the word legacy. I believe he was on another local podcast. Yeah, talking about the word legacy. Yeah. And how for him, he didn't want to leave a legacy. Yeah, I kind of looked at that to say, for me, that was privilege speaking, because I want nothing more than to leave a legacy for my daughters and my grandchildren and those who are coming after me, because they have to have something to dream for. They have to have something to hope for. And without legacy, we wouldn't be here either, because we're talking about the Dr. Kings and Malcolm X's of the world. Like, those people left legacies for us to follow behind. So with that word kind of being out there again, you are for sure creating a legacy in this community for yourself, for your family. Let's talk about maybe some of the successes professionally you've been able to transition into.
Yeah.
I know one of the things I talk about a whole lot, is being able to utilize your voice as the most powerful tool that you have.
Yeah.
How do you use your voice
Man.
and create platforms for others to use theirs?
Yep. So I think the first way I use my voice is just with myself. And you know what I mean? I try to, talk kindly to myself, talk positively to myself, treat myself well. I think that's where it starts, because one thing, I'm sure you know who Gil Scott Heron is. He said the revolution will be televised.
Yeah.
And I think some people understand what that even means. But he even said it starts in the mind, starts in the mindset. So if I want to leave a legacy, if I want to, create some sort of ripple effect, it's got to start with me. It's got to start with how I treat myself, how I view myself, how I dress myself, all these little things. And then it goes to my family, my friends. Try to treat everybody around me with love and respect and speak life into them. Like, if I see someone doing something really well, or even if it just is simple, your shoes are fire. Just giving people compliments, giving people flowers, you know what I mean? And just not wanting anything from it. So I think that's one way I use my voice. I try to uplift everyone around me, and try to stay positive and try to keep things in a good vibration. But outside of that, I think for me, it started at, probably, it really started in middle school. I remember I was an 8th grader, and, won athlete of the year. I was in this, like, I forgot the program specifically, but, there was this teacher, her name was Miss Telestis, rest in peace, beautiful woman, very nice, someone who just knew how to bring out that fire in you to just, as a student, but I remember I had me and 2 other students in 7th, 6th grade, and I was the 8th grader, we all wrote a speech for, like, our end of the year, honor roll type stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember writing a speech and just comparing, having that analogy of life and sports, and just like how people were giving me alley-oops, how people are giving me assists, all this kind of stuff. And I remember afterwards, like after the ceremony was done and we're in the hallway, like parents, like kids' parents, like these are adults, these are people 3 times, 4 times, 5 times my age, coming up to me and being like, wow, like that really, like giving me crazy good feedback on a speech. I didn't know it would have that type of an impact. And I think that from that moment, I'm like, okay, I think I got something. That
You found it.
I think I found my voice.
Yeah.
I think that at that point I knew my voice was powerful. I knew that people listened when I spoke, because I don't just talk. You know what I mean? I could be in a room full of people, and if I don't feel like I can contribute to the conversation, I'll be quiet and I'm just listen and observe. You know, it's like,
Sometimes even more powerful.
exactly. But just like I think that initially allowed me to find my voice, just having that opportunity to be on that stage, speaking in front of a crowd of I don't know how many, over a couple hundred. As an eighth grade kid, I'm 13 years old. It was wild. But then just from there, like I said, those people who kind of along the way guided me and gave me that wisdom and gave me the power and the opportunity to even be in that space to use my voice. And I just always knew, like, when I spoke, people listened. People were attentive to what I was saying and just listening and would take heed to what I would say. And so then I realized, like, man, I got to be careful too, because I know people listen to me. So it's like I got to be careful what I put out there. Not necessarily scared of the outcome, but I didn't want to lead someone down the wrong direction. And for my words,
Yeah.
I knew that, okay, if I have this gift of using my voice and knowing that people actually care and listen to what I say, I can use that in a really good way as well. So that's when I started getting into like like community work. Just working at it started off kind of working at little basketball camps, helping kids at basketball camps with little, handle drills or, telling them where to go, whatever it is, started out there. And then, I started volunteering in the community at different types of, organizations just to kind of get that feel of what it was like to actually be in community work. And then, sports obviously was another big one, but then I got into, Our Growth Project, which was a nonprofit I was co-founder of and ran for 6 years. And I think that really is when it flipped for me.
Okay.
That's when it really was like, dang, like, okay, I'm making an impact, and I'm doing it. And as a black man in a non-conventional way, at least I think, I'm not saying it's the case for everybody, but like doing it through art, art, education, entertainment, doing open mics, encouraging people to come up on the stage, practicing my public speaking, emceeing, you know what I mean, and just crowd work, how to work a crowd, how to get crowd involved, just how to have fun, but knowing when to kind of drop those little jewels here and there to make people think, throughout an event or whatever it is, just learning kind of that formula. And I was, on a college campus, which was really cool, but I met a lot of leaders through that, that kind of elevated me as far as, my name and face, people knowing who I am, what I do, and people wanting to collaborate and help me out. So that was for 6 years. And then, I got into, management. I worked Hy-Vee throughout college in 3 years. And then I worked as a manager for a year. And then I went into higher education at Augustana University as an admissions counselor for 2. And that was another really cool experience, being on a college campus, one that I graduated from.
It had to be a full circle.
It was man, it was crazy. I'm not gonna lie, cause I'm just like, man, like
From not even thinking of
not even thinking about coming to this school at all,
to them
to becoming a student, to graduating from there, to a few years removed and becoming an admissions counselor. And that was cool. And I think the coolest part about that was speaking with younger students, like prospective students, and having an authentic story and just telling them like my story, like, this is a good school. I'll be honest, I didn't think about it. Like I would tell them straight up, like their parents would be there, they'd be sitting there and they would all laugh. Like this was the last ditch effort for me. But that one, fork in the road decision to go left instead of right, brought me tons of opportunities and blessings. And just being able to guide, prospective students. Because me personally, obviously you want them to come to the school.
For sure.
But my biggest thing was just educating them and giving them the tools to make that decision. whether it's here or another school.
Is this the rest of their life?
Because I always told them, like, this is one of the biggest investments you'll make. These next 4 years are pivotal. You know, it's just where you'll probably find out who you are as a person. This is where you'll probably meet most of your friends that you're going to have for decades and maybe lifelong.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very transformative period of your life. So don't haste. You know, don't be in a haste to make this decision. Like, you know, take your time. You know, obviously do your research and all that, but take your time, dude. And just being able to have those honest conversations and seeing, you know, students start to send in their enrollment deposits. I'm like, dang, so I actually made a difference in this person's life, you know, to help them in their journey. And then from there went on to, you know, into the finance industry at Premier Bank, First Premier. And that was another great experience. You know, not only did it help educate me on finances, you know, credit, you know, proper budgeting, stuff like that. It taught me a lot just as a individual, but also working with that customer base is very special customer base, you know, very diverse, you know, people from, you know, Hispanic countries, you know, people from African countries, you know, people from European countries, you know, white, black, Asian, whatever it is, you know, it was a very diverse. So having that kind of revolving door of people coming through with different needs, and just learning how to communicate with certain demographics, you know, because like I said, I'm an immigrant refugee. I grew up around them. So like, it sounds weird, but there's a certain way to talk, even just like,
It's different.
even just in like, not necessarily dumbing it down, but speaking like them, you know, as far as like, there's certain inflections in speech, you know, there's some different words that, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of learn that. And so being able to just communicate with people and teaching them about finances and why this is a good decision or a bad decision, or this is how you can get to where you want to get to. We can't do it right now, but I mean, if you follow this blueprint for the next 3 to 6 months, you'll be in a great position to come back and have that leverage, you know, so stuff like that. So I've always been in a position to, you know, use my voice, you know, and now, you know, in this past, you know, 2 years, 3 years, you know, I dive deep more into the arts, you know, with poetry. My Friends of the People collective that I do once a month, you know, that's been tremendous.
Give that a full shout out. Once again, like when is it?
So yeah, so Friends of the People, it's a poetry collective that I created in September of 22, to give people a voice, you know, to give people a safe space, a community space, a place to grow in and be around like-minded individuals and express themselves through their art of poetry. And, you know, it's done at Full Circle Book Co-op, once a month. If you have Instagram, that's where I'm, you know, highly active, and that's where the page is at. But Friends of the People with a period in between each word. That's where you can see, you know, past poets' performances, flyers for future events, things like that. But that's been a great experience for me. It's just taught me a lot, and I've met a lot of people who I think I wouldn't have met if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's a very eclectic community. You know, you got all kinds of people, you know, coming through the bookstore, you know, coming to those events, and it's just really cool to, throughout the years, have built those relationships with different kinds of people. Like, it's to a point where I can look in the crowd and see who's new and who's not. You know, like, I know, like, I always say, so who's new? And I already know, but like, I just like seeing them raise their hands. Like, but it's gotten to the point where it's like, there's a community that's been established where it's like, I know who is who in the crowd, and I can speak to each and every one of those people like a friend.
Yeah.
Because they
are.
because they are my friends.
They're your family.
They're family now. They're part of a collective, you know. So that's been amazing, man. It's just to see, you know, how powerful poetry can be, you know, and just people expressing their vulnerabilities, people expressing, you know, all kinds of things. You know, there's been people who've spoken about drug addiction, you know, suicide attempts, depression, anxiety, you know, love, all kinds of stuff. But they wouldn't be able to if that platform wasn't there.
Absolutely.
You know, because a lot of times just them in their book or them in their phone, you know, and they put that thing wherever it is and lock it away, and it never comes out. But for someone to feel empowered enough to share such vulnerable things, I'm doing something right.
Absolutely.
To make someone feel comfortable enough to get on that mic and to be like, hey, a few years ago I tried to attempt suicide and this is how. And putting it in such an artistic way, but it hits you in a way it's like, God, I'm so happy you're here still, but man, I can't believe you went through that. Like it channels different emotions in you that I think that a lot of people are deprived of. I think a lot of people are deprived of those experiences and feeling those emotions because of how we stigmatize certain things in society. Or to be able to, be the vessel for this thing to happen, for this platform to be, and to see people benefit from it, and to see people enjoy enjoy and look forward to these events. It's just like, dang, man, it's cool.
So from what I've seen, also from the event, is that it opens up a space of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Very just for the poet, but for the community they're speaking to. I mean, after the fact, there's so much celebration. There's so much love.
Yeah, man.
It's almost like you can feel everybody in the room wrapping their arms around whether it's a joy,
Yeah.
sadness, whatever that emotion is. It's so supportive.
And that's intentional. I, from the name, the name itself is very intentional. Friends of the people. Like we're all friends. We're all part of a community. We're of each other. We're friends of each other. We're friends of the general public. Anyone who comes in this room is a friend of ours. Like because I know also, because growing up, man, even to this day, I've always been a popular guy. I've always been able to easily connect with people and learn about them and stuff like that. But I also, and with that, I was also friends with everybody. From the band geek to the artistic kid to the special ed kid to the football player to whatever you can name, whatever high school archetype. That I was friends with them because I know what it's like. I personally don't know. I've seen it, and I try to be empathetic throughout my life, but I see the impact it has when someone doesn't have community and when someone does have community, and what that can do to a person physically, psychologically, mentally. Because we're social creatures, man. Back in the day, if you couldn't do certain things, they exiled you and you died alone.
Right.
So it's like it just shows you how important community is. Like regardless of where you find it. So I was very intentional with the name and just curating a place and an event where people of all backgrounds can just come and chill.
Yeah.
And just listen to poetry.
So
And have a drink, and kick it and mingle for 45 minutes before we even visit that. I got music playing, a good playlist, just hearing all kinds of conversations, and you're looking at the crowd and there's people you don't even think should even be talking to each other, but they're chilling, they're laughing, they're having a good time. And then the poetry comes up and it's just magic, But yeah, like you said, man, you can feel the energy in the room at all times. Whether it's a celebration and it's a happy hug, whether it's a celebration and a supportive hug, or if it's a sad, like, I'm so sorry hug, like I'm here, like that's rare. And it's hard to create something like that. Plus, I'm grateful to be in that position to do it and to see how it's impacted people, not only just poets, but audience members and the general public,
Yeah, man. Yeah, you've been able to bless a lot of people with that for sure.
Yeah, man. And so, and I just love to be doing it. I'm glad I was chosen to do it.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. All right. So last question. I haven't asked everybody on the podcast this question, but I asked this to our last guest, James, over at First Year, and particularly because both of you are involved in arts. What would the next 5 to 10 years in Sioux Falls look like in a perfect world if you were in control of the arts community?
Oh, that's tough. Dang, that's tough. Man, I think for me, I would like to see more embrace for art. I would like to see art more in your face. Like when you go to certain cities, bigger cities, There's art everywhere. You know, whether it's inside a local restaurant or local business, or you go down an alleyway, you know, there's murals, or you go to a specific place specific for art. Like this, there's nothing else meant for this space but art. You know, I would like that. You know, I would like to be able to really collaborate with, cause man, this city has so much talent. When it comes to art, man, there's so many talented people. Like just on Friday, I was at the pavilion for the arts. What is it? The Arts Collective. I think it was. They do that twice a year, like summer and winter. But just walk around in that big old space and see all those artists with so many different unique pieces, and just like, dang man, this is cool.
Yeah.
You know, we should do this more.
For sure.
Like I would love to be able to collaborate with artists that have like designated spaces throughout the city, whether it's, you know, certain sidewalks, or, you know, collaborating with business owners and be like, hey, we want to do this, you know, is it feasible for you, like, you know, and just have murals and paintings and sculptures and events, you know, frequent events, you know, where it's just like art is life. Art is like, you can't have nothing in this world without art. I promise you, when you really think about it deep down to the core, everything is art.
Bro, I'm laughing because these are almost the exact words that James gave us. Y'all have very similar vision.
Man, because it's like, man, because like when you think about it, man, all right, someone in the world was sitting somewhere and was like, man, this design popped up in their head. They grabbed their sketch pad. I want it to be this color, send it to a manufacturer, like, hey, this is how I want to do it. Mass produce it, whatever. Now it's in the store. Now people are wearing their art.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every car you drive is a design team winning from the interior, exterior, all the little nooks and crannies. That's art. Someone's had to think that and draw it out. Engineers, buildings, architects. You know what I'm saying? Food.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you put the wrong ingredients in the food, it tastes terrible. But you put the right mix, it's like, oh, it brings a feeling. That's art. You know, so it's like, man, I would love to just see more collaboration and opportunities provided to our local artists, to where, you know what I'm saying, they can actually make a living off their art. You know, because I think a lot of people get it misconstrued that art is just a hobby. Like, no, art is life, man.
Right.
Like, art has kept a lot of people alive.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So to downplay it as just a hobby, like, no, this is a fabric of society. So like, to be able to provide people the opportunity to not only make art and display art throughout the city, but also be well compensated for, so where, you know what I'm saying, they can actually, you know, make a living off of it. You know, and so I think that's my biggest thing. I would love to collaborate and provide opportunities for artists, and also merge business with art. And, you know, as far as business, I mean them being able to make profit off their art, but also businesses, you know, embracing artists to do things within their building, you know, and showcase the local talents, you know what I mean, and be able to, you know, just make the city more lively.
For sure.
You know, I think that's
We'll have to figure out. We will have to figure out how to make that come together. 'Cause not only have, you know, the two of you have said something like that, but also Cham. We had Cham, that was a guest on earlier in the season. He said something very similar as well. So we got to make that happen.
I think it will, man. I know that, you know, I have my own ideas, but I think, you know, there's obviously power in collaboration. So I think that with the way the city is growing, you know, the way that, you know, infrastructure is being put up, you know, the way that, you know, different initiatives are coming up and coming about, and then, you know, just different people within the community that are actually, you know, putting in that groundwork, and, you know, that grassroots type movement. You know, I think that it's very possible to do. It's just, I think it's gonna take, you know, just people having that common goal and setting ego aside, and just realizing that we're doing it for everybody, and we're doing it for people that are gonna come after us too. You know, so yeah, man, I would love to see that in the city.
Yeah, ma'am. All right. Well, last thing. Any lasting words for the people? Now is your opportunity to get everything off your chest.
Man, before I do that, I'm gonna give you your flowers on that. I think that, it's important to, give people their flowers while they're here, and when they're doing good things, to give them their props and their credits, because yeah, we never know when we're gonna leave this earth. And so, if I leave tomorrow, I have this feeling towards you, and I appreciate you as a person, as a man, as a community member, as a mentor, throughout my years, and just that constant support, and that care, and just that genuine, happiness for me and my success. I think that, you being who you are in the community, being vocal, you know, uh, and just wanting to fight the good fight for everybody, and just trying to bring change to the city that's gonna benefit everyone. That's a hard thing to do consistently. And ever since I've known you, you've been consistent with it. So I wanna give you those flowers, and just you doing what you're doing with the platforms that you've had and continue to have, and thinking about the greater good. And I give you your flowers for that. I don't know. But to the people, man, protect your energy. You know, not everything and everyone deserves your time and attention. Find what is important to you, what you're passionate about, what brings you joy, and dive into those things. Give yourself, those opportunities to just feel alive. Protect your energy. Don't go anywhere and everywhere. Don't be around anyone and everyone. Be around those who love you, support you, care for you, and do the things that you love and care for. And also, man, just one foot in front of the other. Take it a day at a time. Yeah, just take it a day at a time, man. Give yourself grace in whatever you're doing. Know that, you've came a long way, and there's a lot further to go, but also appreciate where you're at, because you're meant to be wherever you are, good, bad, ugly. It's all, it all passes. Life is all moments, so take it a day at a time.
Man, that's what's up. That, again, like so much wisdom, man. My mom used to always tell me, footsteps towards the future. Every footstep you take is momentum towards your own future, your community's future. 100%. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone that was looking and watching appreciate the wisdom that you've been able to give us today. Thank you all for watching Roots and Revenue, and we'll see y'all again next time.
Yes, sir.